Thanks in part to my last rant, I've had a lot of conversations revolving around the merits and demerits of constantly performing the same cheese over and over again. It provoked me into putting far more thought into a video game than I probably should have put into, yet it did help me inevitably come to a conclusion that I think is something many people really do need to hear. Victoria 3 isn't a bad game by any measure. In fact, I'm going to go out on a limb to call it a really good game. There's just one problem. We aren't measuring by the metrics of a normal game. We're measuring using the meter stick known as Paradox Interactive's previous library of games, and sadly, Victoria 3 is missing something that is wholly necessary to truly succeed as a Paradox game. Agency is a word you probably heard thrown around in the past. It's been a bit of a video game buzzword, albeit an old one from the early 2010s. It does, however, make me think that Victoria 3's main issue is agency. The choices made in Victoria 3 are often very shallow, and, likely due to power gamers like myself putting the information out there for everybody to consume, the choices being made are very samey. So I did do a little bit of deep diving into other Paradox games to see how they managed to get around this little snafu. I mean, even Europa Universalis 4 has technically been solved, but every single game of EU4 has major differences to how each game starts based on the country that you picked, right? So why does Victoria 3 often evolve into a series of Conquer Gaza, Conquer Transvaal, Conquer Oranje? The conclusion I came to is actually a simple one. It's one that nearly every other map painting simulator released by Paradox has. It's the tree. In Europa Universalis 4 we call it the mission tree. Not every country has its own version of the mission tree, but there is enough flavor out there in the world of EU4 that the illusion of agency exists no matter which country you picked. Even optimal strategies are sidelined in favor of the bonuses given to you by missions on the mission tree. Hearts of Iron 4 has an even better version of the mission tree. The National Focus not only puts amazing bonuses out there in the gameplay, encouraging you to pick highly stylized flavor trees for yourself, but it does so in a way that drastically changes how you're going to play the game along the way. You could very easily call this cheap or even empty content, but you'd be wrong. It's player agency. Even if it's the illusion of agency, it's still enough agency to make every game feel different enough that people who watch your gameplay videos don't get angry even if you do happen to follow an optimized, minimized, maximized route. Even Stellaris has its own version of this by forcing you to choose which traditions you'd like to pick, similar to how Civilization 5 does. This might seem insignificant in the grand scheme of things, but even if you're following a meta, it's enough of a choice that it prevents people from outright feeling as if they're forced to play a certain way. This isn't the same for Victoria 3. While technology does have a tree feel to it, giving a small semblance of agency to every game, it's just not enough to circumvent the complete lack of what others like to call flavor. The journal system is, for a lack of a better word, awful. It has no punch. It offers very little choice besides a true or false dichotomy at times. There are even times when the only correct choice is to never complete a journal in the first place. I'm looking at you, Terracoya, and the Gazawat. It's still not a satisfying approach, nor does it give players a particularly large amount of agency to really change how the game progresses. This might be why every single game seems to devolve into the same outcomes every single time when played in the hands of a truly skilled player. There will always be optimal choices. Beijing will always be the first state taken when Qing is attacked, because there are no bonuses associated to a mission that requires us to take Guangdong or Fujian instead. Gaza will always be the first target of most small countries because there are no alternatives to offer up fast growth. Without a mission to push us in the right direction, even playing as slightly larger countries like Persia will devolve into attacking Gaza. Why bother going for Ottoman territory or recapturing Russian-held Persian lands when you can beeline for easy Ethiopian holdings instead? I'm really thankful they're going to put a lot of time into Victoria 3's development now. The diplomatic and economic changes are certainly going to inject a lot of life into the game, which has sadly been languishing for a little too long. The game feels undercooked even today. However, even with all of these amazing changes, the journal system does not appear to be one of the main targets of change. Even if they did add flavor to every single country, it wouldn't be enough, because the journal system is nothing more than a series of yes or no. The amount of branching done is tiny and insignificant. It feels like the laziest and most repetitive anomalies in Stellaris, and less like actual missions. I sincerely hope to anybody who has some level of power in Paradox eventually comes to the understanding that Victoria 3's main problem stems from its lack of agency. Even if nothing more than a carbon copy of Heart of Iron 4's National Focus Trees comes into play, Victoria 3 needs its own tree. It needs something that forces players to make difficult choices with real consequences and tangible gains. Make every country feel unique in a way that they just don't right now. Well, thank you for taking the time to listen to my rant. I hope you still enjoy playing Victoria 3 in spite of it, and always remember, Hail Hydra Cat.